the Voice of America's senior correspondent, Carolyn Presutti. Carolyn, you have been listened to this debate and you've heard both candidates. What do you make of this debate? What are your takeouts from this particular debate?
Well, certainly it was more civil, right? I mean, there wasn't nearly as much interruption as there was in that first debate. That was so chaotic. This one was controlled. The moderator did a great job of continually asking the questions and trying to keep the two candidates on track. They veered here and there, but that's expected. And I think they finally got their issues across to the American public. So if the American public won this debate, that's a good thing, right? So it educated the American public on their differences in how they view the issues. But there are some zingers that came out, some quotes that I think will be the headlines tomorrow, some questionable quotes, if you want to go over them. So, I mean, one of them was the president saying that no one, with the exception of Abraham Lincoln, has done more for African Americans than me. So that's a very broad statement, to put it lightly, and I think he will get some criticism on that, some pushback from that. The Vice President Biden kept looking into the camera, which is one of his traits that he likes to do. He speaks to the American public. He doesn't look at the moderator. He doesn't look at President Trump, but he speaks directly into the camera. And he said, "You folks at home have an empty chair at the kitchen table this morning. We are dying." And that's when he was talking about COVID-19, the pandemic, the coronavirus. But then the president also had an interesting quote with regards to that. He said, "We can't lock ourselves up in a basement like Joe does," meaning that the vice president hasn't been out on the campaign trail as much as the president has been, the former vice president, excuse me. So he tends to do more virtual campaigning. And that's what the president is referring to. The president, meantime, after he recovered from COVID, has been out on the campaign trail much more than Biden has. So each of them get their zingers. They have their quotes that come out. I can tell you what a couple voters texted me during the debate, if you want to go over that. One person said, this is from a Virginia voter, the COVID debate over spikes versus openings is pointless and will be debated by historians long into the future, which I thought was an interesting comment from a voter that hasn't even voted yet. And another person from Ohio said it's unfair to pin the COVID deaths on the president. The virus is spreading all over the world. Someone else said, was saying that Biden had some fumbling when he was trying to get his points across. It was almost like he couldn't find the words to say to get his points across, whereas the president was smoother in his delivery during the debate. And that's all the voters had told me that.
Sure. Now, Carolyn, obviously, as we coming into this debate, we knew that the coronavirus was going to be the main issue. And now we had that both candidates spending close to half an hour discussing the issue. What do you make of the president's reference where he said that the United States will have a vaccine within weeks, and then he seemed to be backtracking when he was pressed on that?
Right, you're absolutely right. And you know, a voter I spoke to yesterday said, "I will be listening to hear the candidates talk about the vaccine." So immediately I thought of her. She lives here in Nashville, and she said, "I want to hear about the vaccine." The president did say that we would have a vaccine, whereas then Biden came in and said, "Wait a second, that's totally different than what all your officials are saying, what the scientists are saying." So there is that discrepancy. Will we have a vaccine? Won't we have a vaccine? Hopefully soon we will, either way. But I thought it was interesting that the president then made it very personal. And let me see if I can find his comment. He said, "I know personally."
Also having
yes.
19, yeah?
Right. He said, "I can tell you from personal experience." And he said, "Now I'm immune." And he said, "It's a worldwide problem, but it's going away." And that's when the former Vice President Biden said, "There are 220,000 Americans who are dead. Anyone not taking responsibility for those deaths should not remain President of the United States of America." So you can see there are differing opinions right there on COVID. And they did spend a long time on COVID. You're right about that.
And on a different topic, and lastly, Carolyn, before I let you go, foreign policy, and then the issue of North Korea comes up, and you have President Trump bragging about his relationship with North Korea, knowing what Americans know about Kim Jong-un, and saying that Kim Jong-un did not like Barack Obama. How do you think that will be interpreted by the Americans?
Okay, so I'm not sure what you said about Barack Obama. Can you ask me one more time?
President Trump was talking about how Kim Jong-un did not deal with Barack Obama because he didn't like him, and contrasting that with his own relationship with the North Korean leader, saying that he has a very good relationship with the North Korean leader. How do you think that will be interpreted by the Americans?
Okay, I'm not sure I heard you right, but the North Korean leader, is that who you're asking about, that relationship with the North Korean leader?
That's where President Trump was saying that he has a better relationship with North Korea, which Obama did not have.
Right. Well, it's interesting that you bring that up, because didn't they both spend a lot of time on who accepted money from foreign governments? I mean, they spent a lot of time on that, both accusing each other of accepting money from foreign governments. And, you know, earlier today, the president, as he left the White House, he was complaining that not enough foreign affairs were listed as topics for this debate. So I think he wanted to bring up a lot more about foreign leaders, about foreign affairs. And they did get in a little bit. They did talk about China a lot, and they did talk about the interference into our elections that's very new, you know, between Russia and Iran interfering in the election, in this election. But, you know, you also have to look at what the topics were stated. You know, there were 6 topics that were listed to be addressed in this debate. And, of course, that 90 minutes goes by very quickly, and especially when you have two men who want to get their points across, and that's why it just flies by.
Carolyn
Presutti, you mentioned Obama. Can I just mention one thing, too?
Yeah.
Today was his first day out on the campaign trail, and it was very interesting because everybody was talking about how he had a bullhorn, and it's almost as if the vice president was holding him to be like a surprise for the campaign, to give his campaign a boost, because, as you know, the former president is very popular in this country. And so it's been very interesting to watch how he handles those rallies. He's very polished. You know, because he was president for 8 years, and he is going out for rallies in Florida while President Trump is there. So in the next couple of days, you're going to see former President Obama and current President Trump in the state of Florida, which is so crucial in this election. So they'll both be there at the same time.
Carolyn Presutti is a senior correspondent for the Voice of America. It is always interesting to get your insights on some of these issues. Of course, as you heard from Carolyn, there were a lot of accusations and counter-accusations between the candidates, and we can expect that there'll also, Michelle, be a lot of fact-checking taking place after this.